What's up, guys? All good?
Yes,
Sean, how are
Sean.
you?
Sean, ça va?
Ça va bien et toi? Tranquille?
You see it? Now I was going to show you my French. I was going to speak
Yeah,
French.
no problem. Yeah, I really appreciate when we don't have to speak in English,
Ça
and
va?
come to my own language. It's easier. It's easier for me, We always in environment with English people. It's really hard to assume the level of vocabulary, right? So if you want to come to the French part, I'm more, efficient, let's say.
We'll stick to English. We'll stick to English.
Oh
Uh,
man.
a quick couple introductions. So, Sean, you know Dan. You guys have met each other before.
Yeah, I don't know if we met in person, right? But I know we were in
Yes,
contact. Yeah, yeah.
in
Cool.
Dubai.
And then yeah, we've been messaging. You've been kind enough to send us some like positive messages after some of the conversations we've had with our podcast. Yeah, I'm a big fan of yours, Sean. Like, yeah, I've watched your work for a long time. On the thing I said, the original freestyler. I hope everyone knows you as that. I'll pass over to you in a moment, and you can tell our audience a bit more about yourself. But Darius, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to just quickly introduce yourself to Sean.
Yeah, again, massive fan. Like Sean mentioned earlier, I'm someone who's watched your stuff sort of time and time again. You are the original freestyler in my eyes, and it's just been amazing. I'm always amazed by people who can excel in something, and I think obviously you're one of those people who do exactly that. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to have a conversation with you.
Thank you,
Darius,
guys.
just to let you know that Coventry have just scored to make it 4-3.
Yeah.
So it won't even go to penalties.
Nuts. Well, let's move forward. Sean, who do you support?
Yeah, I knew it's gonna come to this question. I'm sorry, it's not gonna be an English club, but I will disappoint everybody. I support AG Auxerre. Do you know this club?
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
play. I used to play there when Djibril Cissé, Mexes was there. So I come from this. My grandparents was living in this city, and I knew personally the head coach was Giroud. So I had a big attach to this club. So that's my
Mm,
club.
right. Okay. So yeah, so I mean that's led on to one of the questions that I had for you, Sean. But just to maybe just continue on from some of what Darius was saying, and Darius is a coach himself. You know, we're all coaches. We all work in like professional football. Darius was actually a professional footballer himself. So you kind of like, I feel you created this industry. What we see today with a lot of content creators, freestylers, you were the trailblazer for this. Can you kind of like say to tell our audience about some of your world records, what you've done, what you're still doing now?
Okay, so I will say who I am. Then after later on we can go to why I turn out to do this, right? So my name is Séan Garnier, which is not my real name. I created because the people call me Sean Paul because of the bread I had. So yeah, so based on my thinking at that moment, I thought it was cool to create like a persona and a character, and I would relate to why I was doing that. So basically, I was the first ever world freestyle football champion. I was not the first freestyler. I was not the one who create all the tricks, but I was the one who kind of become mainstream as first because of winning competition, and also because I practice and I perform in all the different area of freestyle, because we call it freestyle, but there is like many areas. There is like the freestyle football, which is like the juggling with the ball, but there is also like the street football, which is like playing in reduced form of football from 5v5 to 1v1. And there is like the pana, which is more focused on the nutmeg. And I kind of won most of the competition in different like world championship and stuff like that, in a certain way, which is make me more credible and become mainstream for most of the people. But there is also guys who was better than me at a certain area, and guys who was before than me in the industry. But the fact I was doing like multiple stuff at the right time, allowed me to be that main guy, for the eyes
Mm.
of people, right?
And when did you start this? Like, was this 15 years ago, 10 years ago?
I start officially the 1st January of 2006. Before that, I was a footballer. My dream was to become professional footballer. So to tell you more about that, when I was like 5 to 6, I started football.
Yeah.
Then at the age of 11, I was, I don't know in English if we say that, recruit by
Yes, yeah.
the Academy of Auxerre, what at that time was one of the best because most of the young kids was playing for Nantes, Saint-Etienne or Auxerre. That was the three best academy at that time. Then I play 3 years in Auxerre. Some of the guy I play with was Bakary Sagna, Hassan Yebda, Rafik Djibour, which played for Algerian national team later on. And above me was Djibril Cissé, Mexes, all these guys. Then after I switched to Troyes, which is another, Troy, maybe you say that in English, which is another club who play League 2, League 1. And I play just with Ziani, Karim Ziani, Mamadou Nyang. So I was just under them. Then, for a couple of different reasons, which we can develop later, which is, we can say it's the classical story. Injury, but not only injuries. It's mostly like a constant and a mental stuff. I turn off as a freestyler just by the fact the first time I understand playing outside of the field of football is I'm able to attract people. I understand there is a lot of to do by mastering the ball in different situations. So the fact I could manipulate the ball and attract the eyes, I realized, oh, actually, when I was saying I would like to be a pro footballer, it's not really what I like is to play football. It's because I have the ball, I'm able to express myself in a certain way. I can catch the eyes of people. So maybe if I go outside of the game of football, I'm able to catch the eyes of people, but in a different way. So what technique I need to learn to actually catch the attention and be able to express myself? Because I was a shy guy. I was not able to talk like that. This all come after. So was my only way to express was the ball. And more I grew up in the football industry, one of the big problems I was not be able to express myself because I had to play in the way the team or the coach want me to play. So I couldn't really like be myself. And when I understand freestyle and street football is a way, I was able to create that character. So Séan, the first time I went to the stage, like my friend took the mic, hey, we have this guy come from Brazil. He has the same haircut as Sean Paul. There is like 500 people saying Sean Paul, Sean Paul. I'm like, what? How that is possible? So I was acting like I'm a Brazilian guy, and I see I could like change my name. Yeah. So I see, oh, that's a really cool way to actually like touching people. So I just like from that day on carry on to learn as much technique as possible from all the panel we have in football, like futsal, street football, freestyle, anything. And I learn all the techniques and I participate to all the championships. And in like 3 years of time, I become world champion. And after when I saw social media, I understand, okay, I will do the same thing, but I will also create the content alongside of these things. And it will allow me to touch more people. And let's see where the boat will go.
Wow, that's so cool. That's class. And what age were you when you started to be able to do this as a full-time job?
21 years old.
Were you earning money off the competitions that you were winning? Like, how did you
Now,
fund yourself?
for the first year, I was doing street shows, which is the best school you can have. Because, so basically in the Champs-Élysées, and also I went to London many times. There is one video I did. It was really, really famous video in Trafalgar Square or somewhere like this. But actually, that's what I was doing. I was performing freestyle, attracting people and challenging people 1v1. And every time people want to play with me, they have to pay. And if you win against me, you get the whole money. If you lose, I keep it. So sometimes I put like 1,000 euro in the basket, and like whoever will not make me will win. But if you play against me, you will pay 10 bucks. So that
That's
was the way.
that's very cool. So you're proper like entrepreneurial with it. Like you conceptualized, you found your way to earn. Right. Okay. I love that.
And
And
this was
that's very cool.
before it became a thing. This was before it became famous. The last 10 years, everyone does this. This was the original. This happened
If you
before.
go on my YouTube channel, I didn't remove anything. There is the first video, the 1st January 2006, where I decide to become a freestyler. So I actually like make a video, all my skills. So that was my real level at that time without practicing. So that's why I learned from the academies and stuff like that when you used to do tricks with the ball. I remember every time my club was bringing like new people in the club, like from Brazil, from
Trialist.
Argentina, yeah, trials. I was asking them, what is the tricks, you know? So they was doing the tricks, and like in 1 or 2 days, I was learning, and we were like doing freestyle battle. And my coach, he was hating them. He didn't like that at all, you know. But that was a fun game for me. Then yeah, after like a couple of months, the fact to do street show every single day. There is one thing is really cool to say, I think, because you are from the coach industry, and you will understand. When you are in academy from 10 to 11 years old till 18, 19, your brain is working like that. Not now, maybe because of social media, but back then, there is not too much outside light of being in academy. You just sleep at the same place. You have no TV, no phone, nothing. So it's like you are brainwashed by the system. And when I came to Paris at the beginning, because from Troyes I went to Paris to start my degree as a coach. That's where I start freestyle actually. I see the life was different. So I see some breakdancer in Paris doing like street shows. I see artists, I see events, I see the nightlife as well. So everything like bring me a different vibes, which is I receive like that. I was not the same guy at all. So the fact I was doing like this thing every single day in the street, like multiply the factor for me to receive information from different artists and different stuff who allowed me to build my character, you know,
I love
and become who I was.
I love that, and I've got lots of questions on this because I want to like touch on why the French are one of the top football nations in the world and why they make such creative players. And I think it's to do with something with the culture that you described. But before we get into that, I have a question where you said about how you practice so much to learn all these skills. Do you think that you were born with something special in your brain that you could do that?
I Okay, there's something special is in the brain, or there's something special is in the feet.
Well,
In
some
the
people, some people believe that they have blessed genetics in their brain that obviously leads to their feet, but that they're able to learn skills better than other children's
I,
brains.
I will go way further than I believe. The reaction people at your really young age, so your parents, your friends, but I will say mainly your family when you are like 1 or 2 years old, the way they react to you by you doing simple stuff will give you the push and the love to actually do more of this stuff. Let's say your kids has a ball and he shoot randomly in the ball and putting it like somewhere, and you are the father and you say, yeah, if at that moment for these kids it's important, he will try to recreate this moment. I see that from my kids. I have one kid from 1 years old. The two others, I didn't have the chance to bring them in my stuff because I was so busy. It was really hard. But the last one is a little bit younger, and he sees his brothers playing. And the fact he see them playing with the ball, he actually trying to replicate. And me, I react a lot because I love football, and of course, we all want our child to be like a top crack, right? So you react for everything, right? Then I see his behavior changes, and because of the fact I love it, he has more passion to take the ball and touch it. So for sure, his muscle memory. Every skills I learned in freestyle was after 21 years old. So most of the time we say in football, hey, if you don't practice your technique at a young age, you will not master the ball later. No, it's not true. You can create muscle memories at any age. But the speed you develop or the reaction you develop outside of this will be different because of your age, for sure. You know, you're not going to be as accurate as when you are young than now when I'm my age, right? But maybe I can use my muscle in a different way with a different technique. So instead of going explosive, I will go endurance. So there is some tricks to use more endurance than explosivity.
Mm.
So I will say from a young age, The talent for me is to understand what you're good at and to replicate as much as possible. That's the talent for me. And you know, we are not good with the ball. We're not born good with the ball. We're born with maybe the way to master an object in the space or to understand what people like around us. Then basically in the life we will find some opportunity, which is football, singing. It's always the same thing. Then we will translate what we our gift. It was more broad, you know, and we translate this gift into the situation and the opportunity is in front of us, based on the reaction of our family around
I,
us.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
this answer, and I do have a response, but I want to open it to Darius or Dan to give their reaction before I give mine.
Well, like Shaw said earlier, like, I've got so many questions, but what I really want to hone in on is obviously you spoke about how we react to our children or how we were reacted to when we were children by our parents or our loved ones. And I found it really interesting that one, you spoke about understanding what you're really, really good at and specifying, and two, the possibility that the thing that we actually need to find is that self-actualization. So you figured out what you were really, really good at, and then you specialize. And I think a lot of times, and it's very difficult because of the day and age we live in, is that we're trying to be good and master so many different things, whereas you had the belief of self to say, I'm very, very good at this. And if I delve deeper into this, I can become exceptional. And I think obviously your trajectory shows that. So what would you say to the idea of self-actualization and just trusting in yourself and finding yourself as early as possible? Like, how important is that for you to master something?
Should I reply to that, right? Yeah.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. So I will try because your English is like it's gonna be hard to say, but I would say it's become a love. Love will push you to the limit where you have to go. You know, so it's what everything you explain with your own words for me become love. So it's basically you don't really put words on it. You put an emotion, which is the passion or the love for the ball or the love to be around some people who play with the ball or with the thing you like to do. And basically you don't count hours. And after that you are throwing in a certain way to play the game, and also playing games it's like big make you coming in the flow states, and this flow state will allow you to learn so many things without knowing you learn. So for me, if I see that from like a old age, when I was 21, the fact I was doing street shows, the games was not to learn tricks. The game was to perform and to win money in front of a lot of competition, because other performer was dancer and circus artist and stuff, artists and stuff like that. And just the fact to attract less people than the other was not the good performance. So I was like, how I can create those tricks and way to talk and stuff like that to attract as much people as possible. So it's become a game, and you don't think about practice. You think about just the game, and you are in a certain flow state. Then you are more efficient. So I would say for kids it's the same. You know, one really good example I have with my two kids. One day I create in the garden like a certain parkour with different things, ball with no ball, climbing and stuff like that. One is older than the other, and when I was doing like with the timing, the youngest was faster than the oldest, right? But as soon as I play the game, you all start from a different point and you have to chase each other. The result become inverse, just because the gamification of the thing would become different. So the performance change. So I would say like that is depend of the game you are put at. It's not only realized. It's depend of also the opportunity and the factor will be around you, will fit you or maybe will not fit you. For me in football, it didn't fit me because it was too tough. Mentally, you couldn't create something. You have to execute something straight away. And if the execution doesn't belong to your ability at that moment specifically, you will not fit into the special route you are in. So I had to kind of be free on myself and find my own way to execute. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm learning. I love this. Dan,
Thank you.
before I just jump back into something that I wanted to speak about off the back of what Sean said, I'm calling you Sean, but you're talking as yourself saying it's Sian.
Yeah, it's just like I make it as a French guy, you know, I make everything complicated. So I just change the name. I put the accent on it, right? Yeah.
Well, we'll call you
Okay.
Sian from now
It's
on.
okay. No, but English people, you are special. It's up to you.
Yeah.
No, we're as English, we're ignorant, so we have to respect and appreciate, you
No,
know, what your parents
no,
called you.
Hey,
it's
come
not
on.
my name. It's not even
Yeah,
my name.
Oh,
exactly.
My
And
name is Arnaud.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
So I made,
no, that's yeah.
yeah. So you know, my kids, all their second name is Sean. All my kids.
Okay.
So if they make it one day, the marketing Sean Junior will be stronger.
people often call me Sian, and sometimes I correct them, sometimes I don't bother. But anyway, um,
Yeah, you have the inverse problem.
um, what I wanted to say was what you're talking about with the children, where like how I've interpreted my beliefs on it are that children want attention from the parent, and then you said how almost everyone's got the ability to learn skills, but they'll learn off the reaction they get from the parents. And you gave the anecdotal example of what you've seen with your two different children. Some of your children, you were a bit busy and you didn't get necessarily like focus when they were young on like when they're doing skills and react in the same way you have with your youngest. And you've seen a connection there, which makes me believe that sometimes people will say, oh, my child is naturally skillful, but they're not necessarily remembering when the child was 2 years old, they were cheering, they were giving all this affection, all this love when the child was doing skill. Or like some families, that the parents, maybe they love skillful players, so that's what they're excited about. And then the child gets with other friends and other groups where more skills are celebrated and so on. Whereas then there's others where maybe the family are more, I don't know, maybe the dad, let's give that example, was a defender, maybe a hard player, played very simple. They celebrate their child doing the simple control pass, not the flair. And so then that doesn't come through naturally for the child. And so this is why I believe so much is environment, not just stuff that we have in our brain and what we're blessed with. This is my beliefs.
Yeah, I believe the same.
Speaking of environment, what is, and I know Sean's kind of touched on this, and obviously for those who haven't, obviously Henri spoke about it recently, I think on BT Sport, when he was asked about it, and he spoke about obviously the street culture, and you did as well, about the street culture in Paris. How impactful was that for you, not only as a football player but as a freestyler?
Hey, it was huge because you basically learn to build the full package, not only like the execution of the package. What I'm meaning by full package, you know, it's like the way you look, the way you talk, the way people receive your message, the way also to understand who is looking at you and what's the tone of voice you need to use to actually talk to those people, and also like what is the trend and what are the hype. You know, so for a couple of years will be like the street culture, the street hype, then it become too street, so it will be more like the look and the clothes and stuff like that. Then it will be more like to be the make the guy who's do the most noise, or it's like the guy who got the most title. So basically the art and the rules of the street around you, when I say street, is not necessarily like urban. When I say street, is like the environment around you will set up your way to build your character. And because the character and the is really respecting, in France we respect the man. You know, like some guys, they don't have any title, but we really like the man. Look at Zidane. You know, he shot someone with his head in the final of the World Cup, but he's the
Still love him.
number one for like many years in football. Like nobody can touch Zidane. You understand? So it's more about like the character you built out of that. And you see, Zidane is not the one, someone who talk or someone who's like showing off. It's like actually the opposite, and people love him. So, and Henri is maybe more like you know, like sophisticated and funny, but people love him as well. You know, so it's like we understand the character in the French behavior. It's really important. So we build our character. I will say like that. It's like the expression. It's not even the culture. It's like we understand we have to express ourselves to exist. Yeah.
Dan, I don't know if you want to jump in before I go with my next question.
No, my advice would, no, my question, what advice would you give to parents? So you make it sound very simple, just about encouraging your child. But can you dumb it down for us? Can you break it down for us? Simplify it. What do you mean just by encouraging? So doing a simple football skill, and what was your process?
Okay, I'm still learning as a parent, to be honest, because I'm between like giving as much freedom as possible, but in the same time to not lose any step of the life you can have, and any learning lesson. So there, I will say there is no right way, but the best way is to kind of trying to understand your kids, what he likes, and his way to behave, and trying to encourage him and to assist him. And whatever is open mind, you can show him what you really like, and he will like to share with you. So one of my kids is really like a competitor. So it will be always about games. Like, oh, let's do this challenge. Let's do this game. So that will be my way to encourage him. So he will fail maybe in this game, but I will find a way to find his sweet spots, and I will give him like the shout. So in the football, for example, at the beginning, didn't score any goals. So I was not aiming him to score goals. I was encourage him to actually create a trick in the game, or create, or getting the ball from anyone, or the simple stuff. Like at one point he was really lost in the football. When he was 5 and they start to do games, and I was like, oh, this is too complicated for him. He don't understand even like the game, right? He's just like like to spend time with the ball. So I was trying to encourage him, and I thought he loved to take the ball from each other. So I say, okay, every time your team lose the ball, you will have to mark someone. That's your goal in the game. And he become really good at that. So that become the reward. Okay, I have marked someone, and that's how it become a game for him. And the other one, he's not really competitive. If there is a competition, he will hate it. So I try to find the expression with him, like what you can create today. Let's find what do you like to do, or you want to do target, or you want to do like skills, or you want to play another sport. Okay, and I try to listen to him what he like. At the moment, he like tennis, like kicking the ball. So we go in that way, and I try to find his flow, and giving as much information as possible as I know in the flow state he is at the moment.
Mm. How old are your children?
The oldest one is turning 7 next week, and the other one is 5.5, and the other one is 1.5.
Okay, and you live in Dubai,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I imagine Dubai is very, very different. I've been to Dubai for like 2 weeks, so I've got a bit of an idea of it. But it's obviously a very, very different football culture compared to Paris football culture.
I would say yes, but even Paris is different than suburb football culture, and the other city in France as well. So
Okay.
everywhere there is the different type of football culture, but you find the same attribute everywhere, which is like, yeah, I think people like, and yeah, uh, I would see it's different maybe now. It changed every 5-10 years. I would say, like now all the parents they realize their kids can become good at football. I would say like 20 years ago or 25 was just like a way for the parents to have their kids doing something cool. They know
Mm-hmm.
football is valuable,
Mm-hmm.
but there is not as much parents as now watching their kids playing, right? I see how many parents there are watching the session now. It's crazy. It's just
But like with what you described around France, around the street culture, that the sort of that phrase you use, being the man, that environment, it sounds quite tough. It sounds like you're going in there and you've got to like do your skills, and if you mess up, you're going to hit the concrete, and it's tough in that environment. And we've had a lot of that, of where footballers talked about growing up in like London, or different like tough parts of England, and that cage football. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but like I haven't necessarily seen that. I don't see a lot of football in Dubai, but I don't necessarily see the same.
yeah. It's like how you spend your free time. Basically, it's not down to the academy time where you like you play with your club, or with your mate, but it's like where do you spend your free time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, that's where it's
Okay,
different.
sorry.
Yeah, that's where it's different. Because in France, you will have access to like 5 minutes from your home, like a football court or like a cage where
Mm.
it's like full of kids playing. Even now is less and less, huh, I will say. But before was a lot.
Right.
But in Dubai, because everything is spread out, it's big road, you cannot walk too much because you know it's like separate. You don't find the same way to actually engage with your friends playing football as we did as a kids. Then the rules of like the attractivity when you play in front of your father and your father react by doing skills. There is also the rules where you, if you are good with the ball, your friends who are around you, they respect you a lot if you are the king of the ball, right? That's the rules
Yeah.
that it was applying in Europe a lot, but not necessarily in Dubai because the attractivity of the parents, the behavior of the parents is a little bit different because they have maybe a different lifestyle. So what they value is not necessarily football, all of them. So it's
Th-
all about value, I will say.
that's kind of like what I was trying to get at, because we're talking about how the environment shapes the player, and that, you know, you, it sounds like you do want your kids to be footballers. Or is that, did I hear you say that?
Yeah,
Did you?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to share the same passion as I had when I was kids and as I have now. It will be my best way to give them any value in the life.
Okay.
But if they want to do something else, I have no problem.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
So,
sorry, sorry,
sorry,
go on.
Sean. I got a question. So, if you were, you've obviously got a 5 and a soon-to-be 7-year-old. If you were an academy coach, say, obviously there's this big thing around ball mastery. What would you say is the ideal? What does ball mastery, one, look like to you? And two, what is the balance between the creativity and the expression that you use in your ball mastery and what's needed to be a professional footballer? As you said, you know, you was at Auxerre, you played with or was around the likes of Mexis, Cisse, Bakary Sagna, and players like that. So you've seen firsthand the players that have gone on to have incredible playing careers. So what would you say is almost the sweet spot when it comes to where ball mastery meets the execution of football?
Okay, I'm still studying and writing my theory about that, let's say,
Uh-huh.
because I become more and more precise on my research. As I before, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I will tell you it's really important to master the ball and having your own panel of possibilities as an arsenal to use anywhere, right? But what I realize is like every single age, okay, you reach, so from let's say 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, it's become a new sport almost. Why?
Mm,
Because you change the number of players on the pitch, you change almost the surface of the pitch, and you change the rhythm of the people who react in front of you when you have the ball. So from a really young age, some kids they will understand some tools and some ball control working. But 2 years later, the game changed, and basically the tools are to have to evolve or has to be totally different. The tools, I mean, not only the skills with the ball, but the body movement or the coordination, even their body change. So the most ball mastery you have to understand is like it's something in the mind. When you work on something and you master it and you understand just repetition is key to achieve something. When you grow up, you understand I need more tools to win that specific game. But become young, when I was young, I used to practice something and achieve it. I can practice anything I need at 14, 13, 15 years old to actually have the biggest arsenal possible in order to play that specific game, if you got what I mean.
yeah.
So because even though you master so many things when you are kids, because I saw some kids who was unbelievable with the ball. Let's say, you know, Iliman Ndiaye from Marseille.
Marseille. Yeah.
Yeah, when I meet him when he was 9, bro, it was crazy. Like when I say he was crazy with the ball, I think I never see that before, the ball control yet at that age. It was crazy. So he shaped his way to play. At one point, maybe it become problematic for certain reason. That's why he didn't make it as a pro. Then he maybe change something mentally, then he find his own way in the Premiership, then he becomes signed in Marseille. But now it's become another game. You see, he struggle a little bit in the game, right? So it's become another game because he changed club, changed atmosphere. So maybe you have to change his arsenal. So now it's down to what's your ability to kind of create your new tools in order to perform where you are, because the game becomes different. So it's really understand for the kids in the young age to practice ball mastery and learn many things, because it will give them a lot of rewards. Like and maybe they will fail on learning something and become good at learning another type of technique. But if they understand the fact to practice and the muscle memory thing, and after they can apply in a game, it's going to help them a lot when they're going to become more mature and more aware about what they need to do. In the inverse, I will tell you my own history. I was really, really good with the ball when I was kids. It's not to throw me flour and stuff like that, but that was my technique, dribbling stuff, people and stuff like that. But I struggle later on. I struggle a lot later on to actually play those games, and I had to kind of readapt my stuff to become who I am, right?
That's something that I did actually want to talk about tonight, and involve the other guys as well in this, because yes, it's exactly right what you've asked, Darius, about trying to discover, how effective the skills were when he played 11 aside, and yeah, I definitely got a picture from the answer you gave, Sean. I need to interrupt the podcast one more time. Did you know that We Make Footballers is a franchise business? We began franchising in 2015, and we now have over 60 franchises in operation across the UK, Dubai, and US, serving over 10,000 players. If you are a talented coach but don't want to start your own coaching business alone, visit franchisewmf.com to find out how We Make Footballers can help you operate a successful football coaching company. But when does teaching skills to the child go over the top? When are we? Sorry, yeah, Sean.
It's not only about there is a certain limit of skills, because for me everything is a skill. Everything, there is no like something is not a skill, is normal, and something is a skill.
Sorry, yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, so maybe I mean
because
tricks and flair.
No, I don't think so. For me, everything is a trick, and this is the way I think. It's like how many movements. I will raise up the level of the simple skills, like any first touch shooting is as good as doing something with flair. Just the psychological impact is gonna have is different on the audience who's watching you. So now let's put an example. You see social media, if your kids will do like a nutmeg and a sombrero and do a volley right after it, it will actually create more buzz online. So you are most likely trying to push your kids to do that because you're gonna get a nice highlight. Then you're gonna post it and make a cool highlight of your kids, right? But actually, like playing one touch is less flashy on social, but is as efficient on the game. So for the purists, it will be no, we have to play fast, we have to play efficient, right? And for the people who love, the flair, and they will say, oh, I love people when they do skills in football, we need that. But for me, I see that as a game. I don't see that as a ball. So in the game, you need different scenarios. So a good player will be someone who knows to apply a tools at the right moments and when. And if you really go deeper on the analyzing of the best player, you can describe every time when they will use a skill, what you call skills. For example, Zidane, when he do is like Zidane 360, how you call la roulette. We call that la roulette in France. Okay. So when Zidane doing that, you will see he was doing that always when the ball was slightly a little bit ahead of him. So he had to kind of do a bigger step to reach the ball back and directly turn 360 to go directly in the same direction. So he create a habit, which is not a skill. It's just basically it become a link from here to here. Like if the ball go that way and the guy is about to get the ball, this is my way out of this moment. So he's not doing the skills.
I know, and I get what you mean. I think what I was trying to get at is like I've definitely seen players, and I'm sure Darius and Dan would say the same thing as well. Like we've seen players who did so much cage football, and they were really, really good in the cage. But then as soon as they went into 11-a-side, their decision making was really bad. They couldn't really play it. They couldn't run enough. They didn't have the psychology for it. Also, like I've seen it with kids with practicing. Sometimes they practice so much kick-ups because they're good at that. They like being able to do round the worlds. They like that kind of stuff. But then they don't practice their shooting. They don't practice receiving the ball properly. And I think that's like trying to get advice to parents on this is what I'm saying about too much tricks, too much flair.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, because like basically after you're gonna be measured on the game you play with, which is the football game. So it's like how much different tools you need to play that game in the right way. So if I'm so let's take the parents' perspective, okay? My kids is like what 9 years old, 10 years old. He's practicing at home every time he juggle the ball 50 times, really nice. He do the step over, he do the thing, but he don't understand the game because okay. So if I want him to perform, I just need to find a tool who will allow him to understand the game. But maybe he don't have fun in this game. He has fun to master the ball because that's where he find the reward, because that's where he find the connection. Maybe he's safe, he's in his garden with you because that's the love he needs from his life. So, but when he's throwing with the 10 other monster in the pitch in the UK because you guys eat each other, like basically he don't feel the same connection, the same love. So psychology is different. Then he are not connect with what you have to do because it's a different sport. When you do the kick up, it's one sport. When you do the skills, it's one sport. When you play 5-a-side, is one sport. When you play 11-a-side, is another sport. Like you can bring the best football player in the 1v1 against me, they will all lose. It's normal because it's a different sport. Because I practice this sport. So I can practice as much 1v1 in my life. When I will go on the 11-a-side, some of the thing will help me, but it will not make me the best 11 player. You know, it will help me to be better at be a baller, but not being necessary 11 player. But in 11-a-side, you can. I wanted to have someone who tests this theory. Take a team and train them only by doing games of 11, not reduced game, nothing. You just play for 2 years in a row, 11-a-side game. Okay, just to see how by just playing the same game, how they can understand the game and build their tools. In to be more efficient in that game. At the moment, what we do, we cut certain situations of the game and we try to replicate those situations in the training session. Then after, we use those individualized situation and we try to replicate in the 11-a-side game. That's what I'm analyzing from a coaching perspective. And for the kids, it's the same. But the kids, they don't realize like the translation from their training individually to the game itself. So what you need to train is that connection, that storytelling. Let's say, the kids, they like to play hide and seek or like catching. How you call that in English?
Yeah,
Like
hide and
you
seek.
touch, hide and seek. Yeah. So basically, when my kids was in the game, I was telling him, and people took the ball from him. I was like, "Hey, this is hide and seek. If they took the ball from you, that's mean he touched you. So you become the cat. So you want to be the
Tag.
cat, or you want tag. You want to touch people, or you want to escape people? No, I want to escape. Okay, so when you get the ball, you have to escape. Find the place. So the storytelling become more clear for him. Then he start to realize the world is in. And sometimes the storytelling is different to tell, even if you are 16, 17, 18 years old. I was in this case, to be honest.
Dan, I've got a question for you because you like I think we would have played on the five-a-side when you might have been around like 23, 24. I kind of remember you from that age. You're a skillful player yourself, and you've been in that TV adverts doing skills, choreographing the footballers. However, like Theo, your son, he's technical, like he's good, like he can do the skills, but yeah, he probably wouldn't. You wouldn't say that he's necessarily like a super flair player, would you?
No, me and so for instance, I playing wise, skillful, techie. That's me. Five-a-side. It gets to 11-a-side, and yeah, I'm out my comfort zone. It's
Ah,
completely different there. So exactly how when we were saying sort of the comparisons, then me training the players that I train with, the training side of things, the technical side, I can do. When we're doing five-a-side, keep balls, rondos, I'm good at that. When it moves to a bigger pitch, yeah, it's a lot. I don't stand out on a bigger pitch. So it's
interesting.
understanding players that may look great five-a-side in rondos in training, but when it gets to 11-a-side, it's a completely different ball game. And for Theo, my son, he's a defender. He's a fullback. Technically, he's very average. He's very quick and very strong, and he's just simple. Just gets it and gives it. And that's where you have to understand in academies, you're going to get lots of players that have different skills. Some technically are going to be very good. Some are going to be very quick. Some are going to be strong. You're going to get some players in midfield. The moment they get the ball, they're in all this space. Whereas you're going to get some that are smart enough to find the pockets. And my issue with parents, coaches, and young players is that they want a player to have everything. And I don't think that's possible. You're not going to have a player that is rapid, that can play centre mid, find the pockets, has all the time in the world, can scan, is as good offensively as they are defensively. And there's so many parents there's so many parents that are trying to make their son or daughter amazing at everything instead of honing in on their super skill and developing that super skill. And yeah, working on all the other skills, but it's not realistic. You're not going to be amazing at everything. So yeah, I find that with a lot of parents where my son's not good enough at striking the ball from 35 yards. That's probably not going to be something he's going to do in a game, or he's not good at 1v1s in a wide area.
Mm.
That's probably not going to be what one of his strengths are going to be. So yeah, so sort of what advice would you guys have to parents? Or you might disagree with what I've just said, but what are your thoughts on what I've just said?
If I could just quickly give my reaction to it, because that sort of like super player you've described kind of is like Jude Bellingham, who's 6'2". He's quick, but also has endurance and just, yeah, like that sort of complete footballer type thing with all the football intelligence, all the personality, like, yeah, kind of got it all. But that's very, very uncommon. So yeah, like I completely agree with what you said, Dan. I think that I've known some top players. I'm thinking some of the top ones at Chelsea, and I know their training program. I think a couple of them are even homeschooled. There's like such sacrifices that go on into all the training program that started since 3 years old, 4 years old. There's just this mad dedication. Sorry, not mad. I'm not going to say that, but there is such a commitment that I think other people wouldn't be prepared to do that type of sacrifice, and it's completely reasonable not to necessarily do that sacrifice. But yeah, I think you need to recognize that there's going to be some deficiencies if you're not able to commit to the type of training that other players are doing. That's my opinion on it. And some of it, you know what else? Some of it might even just be like the environment. I'm thinking back to what you were describing in Paris, Sean. Like, I'm thinking, man, if I've got kids, maybe I want to take them like to some part of France where they're going to be in that like amazing environment, and even the links of like the fashion and the music and the kind of the banter and like that.
We
That
have
is, man.
there's a couple coaching companies in South London. So I'm West London based. There's two coaching companies that are based in South London. They train in a cage, they train in a park, and parents will send their children there because of the environment, because of how intense it is, because of how demanding the coaches are. And it looks great on the gram for some of the parents, but a lot of the children can't handle that intensity. And it is pointless you going once every 2-3 months and just to experience it, because it's all about consistency. However you want to develop, consistency is key. So yeah, it's about your environment.
And let me say to that as well, because obviously we talk about the argument nature versus nurture, and Sean obviously spoke about one of your children being competitive and the other one not so much, just he likes to play for fun. And I think one of the key elements and aspects to being a footballer, and this is where I believe this is the argument for nature, is that so I was raised playing cage football. Like, I grew up on an estate. Like, I played on my own estate, I played on other estates, and we played cage football. And a lot of it was kind of based around fear and embarrassment. If you weren't able to meet the standard, you'd be embarrassed, right? So it would take a lot for you to turn up each and every day and play, because you would be the butt of the joke for the day, for the week, for the month, years to come. Do you remember that time when this happened to you? And I say that to say, to be a footballer is to be in an environment that is anxiety inducing, is, very, very masculine. There's a lot of fear and insecurity based around it. And part of the reason I was able to become a footballer was almost like my fear of being found out, which is a really weird kind of way to look at it. But it was like, I was so scared that people might not think I was good enough, that was kind of like what fueled me to make sure that I was never deemed not good enough, even though I loved football and I continued to endeavor to be better, because I did love becoming better and learning loads of tricks and being a more efficient player. I still always in the back of my mind was fueled by fear. And I think that for me, and I hate losing, and I hate losing more than I loved winning. So for me, I loved training. I absolutely loved training. Monday to Friday was blissful. Saturday for me was work, and I hated losing. And that kind of forged the player I became as I moved on. And Sean spoke about his love for expressing himself, and how football isn't the game of football, or the business of football isn't. There comes a point in time where it's less about expression and more about being efficient and effective. And that's why we only have a few players who have an exceptionally high ceiling that are able to express themselves. Neymar, Ronaldinho, Vinny to a certain extent, but also are so exceptionally talented that they're also efficient. Oh, Messi as well. So yeah, I really find it such an interesting kind of conversation when we talk about nature versus nurture, and we always speak about the things that we think we can control, but in actual fact, is your child a competitor, or do they have an imposter syndrome that fuels them to be the best, or not lose?
No, that's class hearing from that, Darius, and I love that we're sort of like rooting it back to that environment of those cage environments, and then how that then ends up creating the person that becomes the footballer. And it's so helpful to hear how all this happens, and the effects of environment. We normally keep these to an hour, but there's still more that I do want to talk about. There's a subject that I want to talk about, with a lot of people complaining about the efficiencies that are happening in football now, and are taking away players that you talked about there, Darius. And so I want to touch on that a little bit. And then will there be a resurgence of that sort of type of player? Will the fans demand it? And will it be necessary for us to continue to keep growing the game, that the type of football that Guardiola plays, even though it wins so much, fans root against it? So I've got a question around that. And also, I want to hear about the project that you've got going on, because this is such a passion to you. It's a passion to me, 1v1 football. I have it with my company, Women Footballers. But yeah, this new thing that you've got going on, Sean, can you talk to us about that with the urban fight. Tell us about the new 1v1 football you have
So
going.
we go for the
Yeah,
one you want. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I went through all the sports possible, and you can imagine. And I won most of the awards, and I see the business model behind. So I thought, okay, I need to like, I did everything to try to make it better for my life and for also the community, like the freestyle, the street football, and stuff like that. And I see the outcome is not necessarily easy for everybody. So my goal was to create a stage for the next generation to have no need for coaching, no need for infrastructure, and no need to promote themselves in a different way that what they are good at. So basically, I didn't create in a way because it was already existing. I think in the UK you play this game called Wembley. You know, in France we call
Yeah.
it 1v1, right? And qualification we call it like that. Where when I was kids I used to play on one goalie all the time. Then basically when I was analyzing on social media, the key factor to create viral content back then was to play against someone doing a nice skills and having reaction around me. So when I was doing the nutmeg and everybody jumping was perfect. And the amplification of that will be to do the nutmeg and after that score a nice goal, which is going to be more football realistic. So when I was doing that, the 1v1 with a goal behind that and people reacting to it, it was amplify the content. And also the fact to film in only one side, meaning like this is a 1v1 and there is only one goalkeeper. So the fact to film that thing in only one side allowed the cameraman to not struggle and follow the ball and maybe the trick is on the other side of the game so you can't catch it. But in 1v1, you see that straight away in front of the camera. So it's allowed to create better content, more efficient. And the people who watch it online, they don't even know if it's like a 3v3, 5v5, 4v4. The only thing they see is like someone killing another people on the pitch and score behind, right? So I think, okay, I will conceptualize this thing in order to create better content for myself and also people, but organize easy competition because what I realized like so many people play that Wembley game, and what I think also because along the way in my career, I become more like an artistic director and event organizer. So I also understand the people, the audience, what they want to watch. So I kind of also create the game with like point system and stuff like that in order for people to not manage the game if they win 6-0, but also have like chaos situation. So I came up with this idea called Urban Ball Fight. It's called UBF 1v1. And there is certain rules to play. So you can score goals, you get the point. But when you score a goal, you keep the ball back. So that's mean like if I score against you, Sean, I get the ball back again. So you have the pressure now to take the ball from me because if I got the ball all the time and I shoot and I score, it's embarrassing for you. So you have to approach me and tackle me and be more close. But I also reward certain skills as well who value 1 point. Why? Because if there is a game and you do a nutmeg and it's not counting everything, there is no point for me to try to work on certain skills and make it more beautiful for people who watch because there is no reward behind that. So everybody in the stadium, football stadium, they will jump if they see a nutmeg or they see a sombrero. So what I thought is like we have to create a sport where we reward these things, but we don't want to denature football as well. So we will make it as a way it's like normal and natural, and its value not more than the goal, but it's also allowed you to play different technique. So that's what I did. I create certain skill point. I create round instead of like have a full game, so people cannot manage to win 6-0 because they have to like win the first round, but win the second round, win the third round to win the game. And there is also this KO situation where like when you do one skills and you score behind, this is a KO game over. It doesn't matter the score. So I create this sport for 10 years. I was working on it, and like 3 years ago, I launched it, and I'm really happy because now I see everywhere in the world there is like people who start to do 1v1 with the goalkeeper as a YouTube series or as a tournament. I see that in the UK, for example, and my goal is basically to take the next talent and make them superstar because I know the formula to.
Oh.
I know the formula to like make it because myself I did it in a way. So I know how to monetize someone. I know what type of character you have to develop. You know, I kind of create a lot of player along the way. You know, we didn't have time to talk about that. But when I start freestyle, I create a crew of freestyle called S3 Society. We become like the biggest freestyle crew in France and also international. Maybe 30, 35 member was part of it. Some of them have million followers. Some of them have like academies or businesses. So I kind of learned some formula to make it when you have this kind of talent. So now it was only one thing was missing, the platform. So my goal is to create the sport and create the platform, because imagine someone in Nigeria, when you see 1v1, you will say, okay, now it's not like making it in football. It's like I just have to film myself playing against my friend in front of my house where the pitch is 5 minutes from my home. And I just have to play, take one phone and film and post in internet. And I can be spot from that pitch. So I kind of decentralize. My goal is to decentralize football, because one of the biggest problem in football when you find a new talent is like, can he make it in a real academy? Or can he adapt to the team? Can he adapt to the system? So now it's like, what I can I create a platform using just the talent of the guy, and he just count on himself to become someone. And how? By using internet and making as much realistic as possible. So that was the whole point to do 1v1 for me.
That I mean, that's really inspirational hearing that. Like, it sounds like incredible, and I'd be interested to understand how far you've taken it so far. But just bring it back to the point you said there around, you could have someone, let's say, now in Africa, that is winning a 1v1 battle, and then you say, right, that person's super talented, I'm going to pick them. What happens then? Do you fly them to Dubai? How do they get a job? Like, what is the job?
Okay, basically now it's like creating the ecosystem. So I did like 2 years of traveling the world, doing tournaments, see how many people turn to the tournaments, and I see it's working. Like some of the channel now in the UK or in France reached like 100,000 followers in like in a few seconds. Some of the guy got opportunities. It was always the case, back then as a freestyler, but now it's more football related, because you have to score a goal and stuff like that. So now my goal is to, because of the power I can get in my hands with of the following, it's not like I'm starting from scratch. It's like I have some reputation. So when I knock to door and I do some tournaments, or my goal is to get the right amount of money. So when I contract someone, it's like the UFC of football. The guy have 20K to win a battle. So he will work his ass off for 2 months and not work for 200 pounds. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it's because arrive like 23, 24 years old, it's become a different game, because you have to earn your money, you have to make your job. So you cannot spend your time in the street anymore, like learning skills and stuff like that. So there is a lot of pressure on people who's like, trying to make it as a footballer. So my goal is to, I will not say I change the game and I will have 2 million people playing, but at least with my success, I can give back to the table and say, hey guys, I create for you a platform, and I can change life of some of you like I had the chance before, and I will give you all my knowledge and all my visibility into that platform. That's the goal of UBF 1v1.
That's incredible. Creating a whole new
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
Creating a whole new industry. Can I just? I wanna kind of go back to something you spoke about earlier, and it's really, really like resonated with me, because obviously speaking of my upbringing and how I played football growing up as a kid in the cage and whatnot. And you spoke about play. Um, and I don't want to use the word practice with you. I want to use the word play. So when you were inspired by a new skill or a new trick, how much time would you spend playing to learn it? Like what would it look for you as a younger man or kid, and what does it look like for you now if there are new skills you're trying to learn or acquire?
It depends the challenge and the game you put in your mind. Oh, this guy did this trick. I want to be able to do it myself to show him I can beat him.
Mm,
That's one game. It's like, oh, actually, this guy, when he do this trick, he makes the coach react better. What I can create on my own to make the same effect is a different game. So it depends of like the way you integrate the game into yourself and what it means to you. And sometimes there is not even a word you can put it. For me, I'm sure it's the same for you guys. When you see a ball, you have to touch it, right?
mm,
You don't know why. It's like this, you have to touch it, you have to play. But yeah, for me, it's like I have to touch the ball. And for some people, it's not the same. They have to play a game of 5v5 or 7-7. So they will not really touch the ball at home, but every night they will go out, play 7 aside, or 5 aside.
mm.
Mm.
So what it means to me was different along my career, you know? Now it's like every time I have the ball, it's like, can I still impress people? by doing my skills and what I can bring new to the table. Like what kind of new element I can use against someone, and like how I can fool him, you know. So I will train something, or like, okay, everybody say I'm left foot, I'm left foot, I'm left foot. So how I can work on my right foot to make people like, oh, he master all the skill left and right, you know. So it will be like it will be like that for me
Yeah.
nowadays. Back then is like how I can impress people, how I can shock people. That was like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And would you say you would play until you got frustrated and kind of like put the ball down and then came back the next day, or would you have a period of time? Just I'm just trying to get a gauge because I think for people watching, they would like they'll always ask, well, how much time should my child spend doing this? Like, what's the number? And for me, and seemingly for you, because I think you mentioned it before, there is no number. It's endless practice. It's endless play. And it's almost to the point, obviously, in England, we would say, like, you know, when the street lamps come on, it's time to go home because now it's getting dark. And it seems like it's the same for you. It's like you would just play until you just felt as though you're hitting your head up against a brick wall and you go, okay, today's not the day. I'll put this ball down, but tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to try again.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that. It's for some of the periods, especially for freestyle, it's become obsessive. Like, okay, I need to achieve this trick. For my case, was more like I need to master that kind of combination together to be able to reach that type of impression, like I'm dancing with the ball, kind of. And so, till I didn't find this result, I will spend hours and hours and hours to master it. But in the same time, you, as a parents, because maybe that's the best perspective you can give for people who are watching, because I'm guessing you guys try to give to parents also like indicative for helping.
Mm.
As a parents, that's depend of which game you're playing as well. If you put the perspective in 5 years, maybe the best repetition is so as much like is repeat is better. But if you're playing the game of 25 years, you know, maybe sleeping before 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. as a kid and knowing that as something important in your career, like getting as much sleep as possible, is as important as getting the skills and trying to maybe limited the session but repeat at the right time. Maybe when you are in certain age, it will help you to maybe not master the ball as much, but maybe for a long period of time, maybe the behavior being more obsessed with your body and your health will help you to go longer in the game. But
Uh,
what game? Well,
And
yeah,
and also, there are certain things where if you don't make it as a footballer, but you still have these amazing habits, if you want to be a business person or you want to be successful in whatever you go and do, the crossover, fine, it might not be so important to you that you can do a good skill, but going to bed early, thinking about your nutrition, doing your meditation, stretch, all these things can help you be a successful adult and a happy person.
yes, because being happy is the most important. So I will say for everyone is a different blueprint, and there is no special way. And I will say the best thing you can do as a parent is to try different way for your kids
Mm,
and make him happy as much as
mm,
possible. This is
mm,
the if he enjoy to play with the ball 24 hours, and he don't make it as a footballer, but those hours you spend together in the garden playing together might be your memory for your life.
mm,
Okay, but maybe the deception he will got when he didn't make it as a pro will be heavier for him than the fact he play with you. So it was the father happiness to play with his kids, but the kids has a lot of pain to was trying to be a footballer and didn't make it.
mm.
So your role is maybe to kind of balance this sadness and stuff like that. So you saw the game is different of because depend of your perspective. If
Well,
yeah.
the last topic that I want to cover myself from this evening is definitely talking about the idea of the future of the game, because we look on here around how parents can make their children into footballers. Oh, I'm getting a bit of echo. I think it might be coming from you, Darius.
Better now?
I'm not sure. Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, so for the parents that want their kids to be footballers, they almost sometimes need to almost understand where the game is going to be going in 10 years or so. And so a word that's been used a lot tonight is efficiency. Darian's used it a lot, like efficient players. And it seems to be football is at the top highest level is becoming more evolved and more efficient. And sometimes on the internet, you'll see people coming out and commenting saying, I think football now is boring. I don't like it anymore. It's robots, all this sort of stuff. And so you look at a player maybe like Doku, and Doku is a great dribbler, but he literally will do the same thing. You know, he'll drop a shoulder fast, and then, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's brilliant, and he's so effective. And Grealish has probably had to change a little bit more like that. Like, that seems to be how the wide players are playing now. Even like Vinicius Junior, there's not like Adel Taarabt. We don't have the players like Adel Taarabt that are coming through at the highest level. And so my long-winded question is that you, as a professional freestyler, the freestyler, you would have been very like inefficient playing. And are we going to see, like, do we want to encourage parents to train their children in that style, even if it looks beautiful, even if it looks amazing on social media, because is it going to help them become a footballer in the modern game?
Okay, I think there is a bit of shortcut in the way you're saying that. Let me try to, with my poor English, to try to express what I have in mind. The result you see from me is the freestyler. It's one word. But let me try to explain what for me means under these words. I was trying to learn any ball combination possible to express myself in different sports. So now imagine I learn 1,000 combination with the ball from the first touch to the 90 around the world. How many of this combination can I use in freestyle? Maybe 50%. How many combination I can use in football? Maybe 5%. In futsal, 10%. Okay? What you see from me is like the result of the marketing I did, but that's not like my whole possibility as a player. The thing is like, it's not, as I said before, it's not the type of move you learn, is like how many combination you learn and how much are you able to understand those combination can help you in the game you're playing. So if I learning around the world, can I use that in the pitch? No, but I can if I want. I will isolate a moment where there is no pressure. I will do around the world. What will be the psychological reaction of the crowd and the opponent? The crowd will start to cheer and the opponent will start to press me. Can I use this understanding? Yes, because when someone press me, what happened? I have a free space somewhere. I can pass the ball. So that's the way you have to use the tricks and the combination. Is like basically, it doesn't matter if it's like fancy or not. Don't count it in the equation, because it's like the beautiful of the beauty of the move doesn't mean the efficiency or not. The efficiency is just the result if it's help you to grow, to progress in the game or not, right? But progress in the game, is it keeping the ball or is it scoring a goal? Or is it having a psychological impact in your mind? I will tell you indirect efficiency. I translate Neymar, for example, when he started to come in the business and dribbling everyone in Santos. This game was not efficient only in the pitch. It was efficient on all the mind of the people. They had to play against him in the next 5 years, because every time someone face him, he will have the same reaction. Okay, I need to be close to Neymar, because if I let him play, he will dribble me, right? Most 80% will be like that. But it's funny because for all his childhood, he used to play against people who had the same behavior against him. So he mastered his technique in a way everybody who's like 1 meter or 50 centimeter close to him, he has all the combination. So it's in these things for him. You understand? So he kind of understand the game he's playing all the time. And if someone stop in front of him of 2 meters, he will most of the time stop the ball doing like some dancing move. And after 5 seconds, because of the pressure of the people and the culture of football, the guy in front of him will press him. Then he will have the answer because he already create this training unconsciously. You understand? So I would say to the parents, it's not about like, can my son should learn fancy move or not? Is it like efficient? Is it good for the game? uh, I would say learn as many moves as you want, but try to understand how to use them. And when I say move, can be a pass, can be without the ball, asking the ball. There is something, for example, in the football, some people do from futsal, and I don't think people in football understand that. But for me, it's the skills. When they pass the ball, instead of asking the 1-2 on the free space on the side, they go on the free space first and they cut in. You saw this movement? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. This is come specifically from futsal. And you will see most of the guys who's doing that, nobody noticed, but it's a really nice technique. And this is a skill, but nobody noticed that. So the knowledge of your skills, like what you learn from a young age is good, but what makes you a good player is your ability to use that in the game you are playing in. That's my thing. So I will also put one more point. We always measure for the top players. But what about the player who play in Division 3? Do you think this player, if he's able to do like 10 around the world and doing some super cool skills, even though he's playing left back like Marcelo, that will not help him, marketingly speaking, to reach maybe a Division 2? You know, there is much more than just like the efficiencies, like the character you built. It will help you maybe to have more opportunities in the football or outside of football. So for me, it's more than just using on the pitch. Is like how you can use all this ability and playing with the behavior of people. But sometimes it's playing against you because when you do the trick, you are called as a trickster like Ben Arfa or like Ryan Cherky, and you have
Parental.
like you have a sticker on you. And like if you do normal game, it will not be enough. And if you do skills and you miss, it will be it's only skilling, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, because if the player stops the ball and suddenly just puts their foot on it and does around the world, maybe the manager thinks that they are caring about themselves and it's for their own marketing and they're not part of the team, and they've now like slowed the game down because all of the opposition have got back behind the ball and the move has died.
Yeah.
So it's probably not. And then I'm thinking of like at the highest level, if you try to do that in the Premier League, Van Dijk is coming and gonna smash
Yeah.
into you.
Yeah, it's maybe you can use that in the play like the surface of the goalkeeper and get a penalty. I will say, I think people think about the game really basically in a way. I'm sure there is like hundred of millions possibility to play that game, which is not create yet because we really the game is only 100 years, like almost a little bit more. You know, imagine in 1000 years, do you think the game will not change? Maybe there is so many other technique we can master to actually play this game, you know.
I've
so
thought that before.
so we act like this is football. Okay, this is the way to play football. But I'm sure there is thousand way. And you see, one guy is really clever. It's like Pep Guardiola. He's like find a way to make the audience think, like, hey, I create a new tactic, a new. It just went a little bit different, you know. It went a little bit different. So and now we have the whole marketing for that. Then he play with this, you know. So I would say we can keep it simple for people, and I don't want to misbehave, you know, like the audience and the parents do the tricks, the juggle on the ball. But I mean, for me as a kid, you know, from 6 to 12, let's say, just learn as much as you can and enjoy yourself, and you know, enjoy the game as much as
Mm.
possible. And when your kids really want to make it as a footballer, you can drive him like okay, do you want to make it as a pro? That's your dream. This is the the best way possible, I see. But if your kids doesn't follow this way, try to give him other tools. Maybe it will help him more to achieve certain technique. It will give him confidence, and maybe this confidence is necessary to actually act in public. You know, there is not only the technique, but there is also the psychologic around those abilities to, you know, to dribble, let's say.
Well, like for me, I mean, I know I've asked so many questions, and you know, I appreciate your time so much tonight, Séan. Dan, Darius, did you have anything that you wanted to ask Séan before we leave?
I'll let Dan go first because I know he's been.
Where can people find you? So people listen back to this on Spotify, on YouTube, Apple Music. Yeah, your socials. Where can people get in touch with you and follow you?
Myself?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So for this conversation, I'm guessing it will be on the Project Football, you know, so it will be cool. And what I'm trying to do is like to build the UFC of football, to build a new platform for football. I don't think I'm gonna be the new football, but I think I can help the youth to grow and to have attraction. So all my social media is like Séan Freestyle, and Urban Ball is called URBANBALL. So the game is Urban Ball Fight 1v1. And if you know anybody who's searching opportunities and I'm coming to your country or somewhere to do a tournament, just bring this guy. He will have a shout.
Mon frère, merci.
Merci, mon ami. Merci, la famille.
Séan, really good to meet you. Thank you so much for tonight. I really appreciate
No
it.
problem. No
Absolute
problem.
pleasure to speak to you, Séan. Thank you so much for your
Au
time.
revoir.
Au revoir, and good luck, and also thank you for your time. I appreciate. It's nice also to see your conversation, what you do. I like to see other perspective, because I think it's a game of perspective. There is no truth. It's like everybody have his own truth, and the fact to do the 360 will help you to go closer to your goal. And it's nice to have different opinions as well. So thank you for that. And obviously, when I come to the UK to do the UBF, you can be part of this, and we can do something together to change the lives of people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd love that. All right. Cheers, guys.
Salam.
See you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.